All right, my name is Eric Woerner. I'm the Director of Software Architecture at Trustwave, and today we're going to talk about migrating Trustwave's large customer portal over to Dart. So some of the things we'll cover today as we're migrating the UI that we built within Flex over to Dart, similar to Workiva, what they've done, but we'll explain our journey and what we've gotten to so far. At first, we'll talk a little bit about who Trustwave is as a company, so you can understand the services we offer to our customers and what the portal framework does today. And then we'll get into a little bit of why we're migrating at this time. Why is it a good time for us to get off of Flex and start taking advantage of Dart and things that it offers? And as we go through this journey, there was 4 fundamental things that we wanted to make sure that we accomplished when we started looking into this in Q4 last year. And we'll find out by the end of this talk, and what you can discover through our journey is we have increased productivity with using Dart Editor going forward. We can still use RPC-style calls within Dart for calling our backend services. We have application development with Angular and Polymer UI components for building out our applications that load into our portal. And also, we wanted to make sure that when we started migrating to the new portal framework within Dart, that we could still leverage our Flex modules that we load in today to the portal. So let's get in a little bit about who Trustwave is. And I promise this next slide is the only slide I got from marketing, and so I'll go through it pretty quick so we can get through it. Trustwave, they started as a PCI compliance company, and PCI stands for the payment card industry, and a set of controls within a framework to make sure that your credit card information done with companies that do credit card payments is secure. And through that, we've grown, and now we have a portal, an on-demand portal that offers services for threat, vulnerability, and compliance management to over 3 million subscribers within the portal. We have support offices around the globe in Manila, Warsaw, Chicago, and Denver, and we support 12 different languages. And some of the applications, and since we've gone forward and they started as a PCI compliance company, we've grown from there, and we have a portfolio of services that we offer to our customers going forward. And some of those are web application firewall, secure gateway, and vulnerability scanning. So enough with the marketing side. Let's get into what the Trustwave portal is. So we have this portal, we have customers that log into our portal, and any time it could be up to 40,000 unique users that log into the portal throughout the day. And those users come from customers that have security needs that we offer to them. And when they come to our portal, they could be offered up 1 to n different applications within the portal framework. So we needed a portal that could be customizable to the customer's needs. It's a common infrastructure that we have of UI components with backing Java services. And within the portal, there's 35 different applications that could be loaded. Now, for a normal customer, it'd be like close to 1 to 6 different applications. But down below, you see my login, which is more support, and we offer up more applications that they could get into. So my user, when I logged in, these up at the top in the header are separate applications that are loaded on demand when you click on them and they come into the portal and are loaded. We have 12 distributed application teams that build out these 35 application modules. So you can imagine we needed a need for a good framework for them to be able to develop in. So what does that portal framework look like today? What do we use for this portal framework? Well, the front end, the portal UI that we built out is all built out within Flex. It consists of UI components, modules, and I'll speak about modules within Flex in a minute, and the remote calls and serialization using BlazeDS to our backend services. So Flex was fantastic for us. It's been fantastic for us for a long time. It's a proven language within ActionScript, and with the MXML markup, it's really easy to build UI components very quickly. It's very nice for Java developers, even on the back end, could actually get into the UI that sometimes don't like developing the UI, but they pick up Flex very easily because you can see within MXML markup what your component's going to look like. So it's not like you're just playing within JavaScript in the DOM and manipulating and then seeing what it renders. You can actually see it through the markup language. Flex has a vast UI component library, so we've taken advantage of all the components that brought along with Flex, like data grids and drop-downs and the buttons. We've also grown that component, so it's very easily within Flex to build your own custom UI components. And then we took advantage on the back end with BlazeDS. BlazeDS allows us to do remote calls to existing Java services that we have on the back end, and all of our Java services are built out within Spring. So the portal framework gives you the ancillary services you need for building applications. So our development teams can concentrate on the applications they need to build for the customer needs, their set, and not worry about security, session, auditing, logging, those other services that are all part of the portal framework, and also take advantage of the UI components that we've built out. So as we start moving over, this is a graph that shows the number of lines of code breakdown within some of our main application blocks, compliance, scan, and MSS, and then we bucketed off the other applications. And it's skewed to the back-end services. We have a lot of services on the back end that are gathering up information that we need to present through the UI. And those Java services, we're not going to rewrite those. We need to take advantage of those going forward. So as we started looking for a new UI framework, we had to make sure that we accomplished certain needs to make sure that we took advantage of the Java service on the back end. The front end, it's ActionScript and MXML, and that's all going to be rewritten. So you can kind of get an idea from the graph here, some of the ActionScript and MXML that's going to be ported over. And it's not going to be just a direct port. We're kind of doing a rethinking of some of these apps and how it should be presented in the portal going forward. So it's a great opportunity for us as we start porting and start rethinking some of our UI, UX decisions that we made in the past, learn from them, and do it better within Dart. So why are we moving away from Flex? I mean, it's been great for us. We chose it back in 2007 because it was at a time that, it was great and quick to build out applications. But now with Flash, there's a decreasing vendor interest within having a Flash player out there. And right now, you don't have to use a Flash player anymore to take advantage of things that are now you can do through HTML5. So you can get a rich internet application experience without actually using a Flash player within the browser like you had to do in the past back in the late 2000s. There's also been a change in the browser landscape that we really want to take advantage of now. With web components coming up big time within the industry, we want to start taking advantage of that now, and this is a good time for us because you can actually build out element tags and build them out, and it's going to have the same feel that you have within Flex when you're doing the markup language. Now you can do that within HTML, and that's a gradual, easy change for our developers going into a new language. Flex is not a good solution for mobile. And you can't load a Flash player on any mobile browser out there today that's going to do anything for you. So as a company, as we start looking to go forward and have a mobile solution, this is a good time to get off of Flex and Flash and start going forward as a company and thinking about how we want to present the information to our users. And this is a great chance for us to get productivity from our developers. Right now, it's coming up soon. I'll talk about our experience within Dart Editor, and it hasn't been a good experience so far for our developers within Flash, and now going forward within Dart, we're going to have great productivity from our developers. So it was about 2 years ago. We're out at Adobe Max, and Flex is really not being talked about as much in the past. It was about 2 or 3 years ago. I can't get my timing right. Time flies. But we'd start asking questions. The presentations weren't as big, and we had gone to the event for 2 years, and this was our 3rd year. So we knew something was going on, and it was right after the event they all of a sudden said, all right, Flex is out of our boat. We're going to open source with it, and Flash players going away. So it started making us think, OK, what's next for us? We got to start going forward on newer technologies. So the one thing that back in 2007, when we decided to go with Flex, it was great because we didn't want to jump into JavaScript. When we have that many 12 developer teams, I can only imagine all of them designing all their code in JavaScript and bringing it together at runtime and what spaghetti code that would create. So Dart was a great framework for us to choose going forward. And the first thing that we thought about in Q4 was looking at Angular for our framework and Polymer for our UI components. Polymer has a great set of the core and paper elements that we could take advantage of. And when we started doing this in Q4, these were the goals that we were looking for. We wanted to make sure we had a good development environment. We had support for current Spring services going forward because we got to take advantage of all those services that we have. We want to make sure that we have a framework for building those portal modules that are loaded in. And I forgot to touch on this earlier, and I'm going to touch on it now. But within Flex, they have a concept of a module. That module can be loaded in at runtime. It's a Swift file. So all those applications that you saw at our portal at the top, those were loaded in at runtime when you clicked on those modules. The Swift was brought in, and it would appear within the app. So it allowed our developers to work on those independently of our portal framework, which it sped it up a lot. So going forward, we want to make sure we can still do that going forward. And we want to make sure we can support our existing Flex modules in the Dart portal going forward, because we have 35 of them. We can't port them all at once. It's going to take some time. So the common development environment. With the use of Dart Editor, we have seen great productivity going forward for our developers. The graph on the right shows within Flash Builder that we are using within Eclipse, building out a module that they were building and loading it into our portal during development time. The compile time was close to 2 minutes, and that's being on like the median edge. We have some of our bigger applications that were taking close to 3 to 4 minutes before you could actually see what was happening within your application. Incremental updates were at 90 seconds, so it wasn't any quicker after you had your server running and then make a change and then publish it out to your server. So this was really decreasing productivity from our developers, because all developers at times has ADD, and all of a sudden you're just waiting there and you're looking at your phone, you're looking at email, and then you forget what you're actually working on. So Dart, it's fantastic. I mean, these times are for before we started using Polymer and Angular, and our compile times and incremental updates. So now you can actually make a change in the Dart editor. First time the pub server starts up, that's your time that it takes, but the incremental updates are instantaneous and you can see your changes. And for building out UIs, this is a really, really key part of building out your UIs, because you want to see your changes right away. We're still going forward with Eclipse right now for our development for our Java services. So right now we kind of have a mixed environment, but with IntelliJ going forward, that's probably the next step that we'll go to, that we can have a mixed environment for building out these UI and the services. Serialization within Dart. So we needed to still take advantage of our backend services. So this is kind of the same slide that I showed earlier, but we're changing out our technologies that are used here. So now the portal UI is going to be built out within Dart. But how are we going to call those backend services? How are we going to still have that same remoting and that same feel for our developers as they're coding out, calling their backend services? Well, what we did is we built out a layer within Dart that supports an RPC-style service endpoints, and it uses our existing session mechanism that we have today. So we have a session that goes down on every service call, and all of our backend Java services, remoted services on the backend, are all protected as well by session. So we have to make sure we handle that mechanism going forward. And everything is serialized from the Dart models or objects that we have on the front end to JSON to our backend services. And then on the back end, we built a layer within Java that's going to actually translate that JSON into our Java objects and then be able to call our backend services. So you get the feel within Dart that you're actually calling a service that's within Dart, but it's actually remoting to your backend service. So it's been fantastic. One of the things that we use on the Portal UI side is we use the SourceGen library that I'm going to talk about in a minute. Thanks to Kevin Moore, built that library, and it's been fantastic for us. And on the backend services, we're having direct mapping from our Dart objects to our Java types. Here's a little bit of a sample code of our simple user class. And I left out a little bit of the middle because we didn't want to have all the values going down. So one of the complaints when we were in Flex is having to do boilerplate code over and over again. We used what was called Cairngorm within Flex back in the day, and you had to have so many different classes for making one service call to the back end. And developers hate to always create those classes over and over and over again. They're copying and pasting, just creating a class. We wanted to get rid of that. And one of the things that we have when we're taking a typed Dart object that we've created and we want to actually serialize to the back end, well, you have to usually build out two different methods for to JSON and from JSON. So you can have the serialization going back from the JSON and the communication. Well, we didn't want to have developers always doing the translations in these model objects, because that's a waste of time. So by using the SourceGen projects, we're able to annotate our classes, do a pre-build process that creates a part file, and you can include that part file within your model class, and you get these two functions from the part file. It builds your translation for you. So now you just add two methods for the to JSON and from JSON, and it automatically gets that serialization you want, and you didn't have to actually build out those methods. So thank you, Kevin Moore. That's a great library that we take advantage of, and it's been great for us. And then this is an example code of our RPC layer within Dart. On the left side, it's actually using the user service within one of our module apps that we built out in Dart for actually adding users to our portal. So we're taking some of our admin apps early on and porting them over from Flex. On the right side is the implementation of the user service class that's extending our underneath RPC user, or RPC, excuse me, service class. And it allows you to do invokes on methods on the back end that are actually tied to a Spring service. So when someone uses the user service, they don't care where it's calling, what URL backend it's going to. That can switch up on them. They're just guaranteed on the front end that when I create a user and I say create user, I'm going to create a user. And it returns a future. So on that side, there's nothing on the return of it, so they just kind of went on their way. But on the bottom side, we take advantage of async and await. So this is really nice for our developers. Instead of, within Flex, we've been doing callbacks after callbacks after callbacks after callbacks, chaining them along. And it's a lot easier when you can actually see your code synchronously going down. So going forward, it calls the find all users. Right here, when it passes down this method within the JSON, it actually puts the method name you're calling on the backend service so it knows how to translate that through. Put an await on it, and you've got your return back synchronously. You don't have to have callback after callback after callback. Async await has been a great feature in Dart that we've been looking forward to take advantage of, and our engineers really like it. Portal UI and modules. So within Flex, our application teams can build modules out and then bring it in at runtime. It's been a fantastic feature for us. It allows them to develop on their own, independent of the portal framework. Going forward, we need that same type of concept going forward. So we started looking at Angular Dart for our framework. That was the first one. And we wanted to take advantage of the dependency injection in it. We look at Angular Dart as the framework and Polymer as the UI components that you can bring into it, and you mesh those two together. So we didn't want to just build it out in Polymer. So our first journey was building out the entire framework within Angular and having our development teams use it so we could take advantage of the routing in Angular Dart. And we're on Angular Dart 1.0 right now. And the routing is great for us because currently in our portal, we can't take advantage of the back and forward button. We're in a Flash module. We didn't build the integration between the two and keep track of every screen they were moving to because they didn't have anything built into it. So basically, if someone tried to push back or forward, we'd warn them, hey, you're going to be getting out of our site. And it's like, that's a bad user experience for our portal. We want to allow them that if they switch through different views, they can go back and forth. So the routing within Angular Dart was something we want to take advantage of. But it was lacking in some ways within 1.0. When we go to views within our rich internet application, they're stateful views that you transition through. And in Angular Dart 1.0 router right now, it doesn't have a concept of stateful views. When you go through the routes, it's a new view that's loaded in every time as you go through that route. So we're looking forward to 2.0, the specs that are coming out from there that are solving part of that problem. Another problem with it, or no, that was the main problem with it, excuse me. The next one was the deferred loading of applications. So we have that right now with module Swifts. With Angular Dart, we've been able to accomplish this. We have a base module that people can extend off of, and we do deferred loading of that library package within our portal until the user clicks on the header to load in that module application. So at that time, we call that library, we say load library, and when we know we've loaded it in, at that point, we bind the module from Angular so we can have that element tag, and then we use the Angular compiler to compile that view in with that element tag, and voila, it's loaded asynchronously from the back end, and it's not there at compile time. So we get the same feel that we've gotten within Flex today with loading module Swifts in a different way by using the deferred loading within Dart and then the Angular library for able to compile in element tags at runtime. That has been one of the major goals that we needed to accomplish. It's one of the things that we were thinking about when we were going to port over to a new framework, is we still needed to keep that concept today. Because we don't want to have the user experience at the beginning of our portal loading to be cumbersome to our users. We want it to be quick and fast, have the tree shaking happening from Dart to JS, and defer load those libraries at runtime. Now going forward, we also, within Flex, we had a vast array of UI components. We had data grids, we had drop-downs, we had splitters, sliders, you name it, collapsible panels. It was all built into the Flex library, and a lot of components that we built out that were custom to us. So going forward, it's like, what UI component are we going to build off of? Polymer UI has been a perfect fit for us going forward. Polymer UI with the core and paper elements gives us all the base UI components that we need, and then we can build off of them going forward and actually following the web component standard. So we've actually gotten the binding between Angular, Dart, and Polymer working to a point. We're hoping going forward that the two teams kind of solve some of that between the bindings and the events, but it's worked for us right now going forward. And now we have the distributed application development in the new portal going forward. But as we were going through and we were using Angular and Polymer, we noticed something within the Dart editor. The gains that we wanted to see coming from Flex, which we still have because the experience within Flex was so horrible, it was starting to slow down the compile times within the development of our modules. So we first started off with Angular, and we're just going to build out all of our modules within Angular. We'll build out UI components with Angular. We were kind of just staying away from Polymer at first last quarter because Angular was farther ahead. Polymer was a little bit behind. Well, at that time, we saw compile times for some of our modules, bigger modules, taking 22 seconds. And the incremental updates were taking around 12 seconds. So it's way better than what we were experiencing Flex, but it still wasn't the quickness that we wanted to see. But then we went through and we said, well, Polymer's catching up. We still want to use Angular for our framework. Let's use them together. Let's start bringing in the web components from Polymer, take advantage of the paper and core elements. And within the transformers that we were seeing during dev time, we put the Polymer transformer first and the Angular transformer second. All of a sudden, it jumped up to 40 and 28 seconds, and it was like, okay, this is not what we want to see during development time. So just by chance, we flipped the transformers, and we saw a great increase on it between the two. But then at that time, when we found that out, all of a sudden, Angular 2.0 is coming out. That's going to solve a lot of our problems. And we started building out now, and our teams are building out all their views and UI components within Polymer. And the Polymer method of going through it and actual compile times and incremental updates is great. So our development teams are going really fast, developing through, building out these UI components. And now we're, with the announcement today, which made me very happy with the dev release of Angular 2.0, we're going to go forward building our portal framework out within Angular, taking advantage of the routing, and be able to bring in these web components and get the binding and the events between the two as the teams start building them out. The last thing of the goals that we needed was we need to support our existing legacy applications that are within Flex, within the portal. This was a big one because we have 35 application modules within the portal today that we can't port simultaneously all at once. So we need to have a way that we can load those Flex modules into our new Dart portal Chrome portal framework. So what we've done is we've used the Dart.js library and built a JavaScript bridge in between, and we're doing communication between Flex and the Flash player and to the Dart Chrome. So if you remember on that first slide, we had the header at the top, and we had all of our modules. Now it's a mixture. So when a user logs into the new portal Dart Chrome, you could have Dart modules up there, or you could have Flex modules. You don't know which is which until you click on them, and we know from just our database as the user logged in and what they were provisioned to, whether it's a Dart module or a Flex module. And at that time, if it's a Flex module, the stage loads just one Flash player, and that module comes into it. If it's a Dart module, it swaps it out, and the Dart module comes in. So now we have the communication from our Dart portal through JavaScript to our Flex applications. This was a big win for us. When we showed this to our PM department, they're very happy about it because it made our timeline now coming up to the better, the third quarter of this year that we can actually accomplish building out our framework, our portal framework, have new applications coming in with Dart modules, but keep those legacy Flex applications going forward. So now the timelines for other applications being ported over fits within what PM wants to see going forward. So that was a big win for us. So what are some of the conclusions and what's next for us? Well, we saw the increased productivity with Dart Editor and going forward now with WebStorm. We have the RPC style calls with Dart. We have application development going on within Polymer right now and Angular with the portal framework. And we have Dart and Flex interoperability with the modules loading into our portal. This is our new look and feel within the portal, example of what we have today. And this is one of our Dart modules, how it looks loading into it. So going forward now today, it was users was been ported. It would be like assets. If it was a Flex module, it would load within this stage area and have that interoperability between the two. The one thing that we're still concentrating on the Flex side is we got to change a little bit of the look and feel to match what we have here so we don't see any clunkiness for our users coming into the portal. We have multiple development teams working on applications right now. A lot of them are early adopters and also new applications we're building out. We're not going to be doing that within Flex, but we're doing that within Dart, Angular, Dart, and Polymer. And we're really excited about 2.0 and 1.0. I put this on the slide before I found out from Kevin that the news on that was coming forward. So we're looking for stability between those two so we can take advantage of some of the new functionality, especially within the routing within Angular 2.0. So thank you very much. I'm going to be here throughout the rest of the summit. If anybody wants to talk about our experience and some of the stuff we did, and I can show a little bit more code than I showed on the slides today. It's hard to condense it within 30 minutes. And also, I'd love to hear about any of your experiences you have as well with using Angular, Dart, or Polymer. So thank you very much.
Do you want to do some questions?
Sure.
We have time.
Yeah, let's do it.
5-10 minutes, actually.
Yeah.
We were so afraid that you guys wouldn't be able to fit into the time frame that we were like, yeah, you got to cut it down. Remember,
you guys coached us very well.
And
those
apparently we
rehearsals.
overcoached you because
Yes.
everyone's doing like 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
there's time for questions. Anyone?
Yeah, fire away.
As a bonus, I will awkwardly run to you to hand you a microphone.
Just wanted to know, I think the same thing that you saw with the Angular and Polymer times. And so what is it that you said? That you switched the transformers to
we
the Polymer
first had
first?
we had the Polymer first.
You started with
Hold
Angular
on, let me check
first,
my
I'll bet.
slide real quick.
Because I've got Angular first and I've got the slow times.
It was Polymer first, then Angular. Flip it.
Okay.
I saw it much increased time going that way with it.
And have you tried it with
And I think in
Angular
my
too?
head, I mean, I don't know for sure from looking over the transformers. What my thinking on is whatever happens with the Polymer and all of a sudden it gets to the Angular transformer afterwards causes Angular to go a little bit longer.
Yeah, okay. That was illuminating. Thanks.
Yeah, you bet.
Anyone else?
All right.
Going.
So I was curious. Polymer and Angular both have like an overlapping feature set when it comes to binding and some UI stuff. I'm wondering, what is it that Angular is giving you that Polymer is not?
I look at Angular as, with the dependency injection, the routing that's involved in it, as the framework we want to use for building out the switching between our modules, switching between our views, using the deferred loading, bringing in the element tags and the compile time at that point. And I look at Polymer as, I want to build a new data grid. I want to build a UI component that I want to share with other application teams within the portal. We'll build them all out within Polymer, and they can bring that within an Angular Dart view or within another Polymer view.
Thank you.
You bet.
Anyone else? I think we have time for one more. Yes? No? Okay. Yes?
I'm just curious. I can ask without the microphone. If you weren't going to use Dart, what else were you looking at? Because obviously the thing's moving forward, but where else would you go?
We looked at just TypeScript, CoffeeScript, and then it just goes into all the JS libraries that are out there. But for building something like this, where we have 12 distributed teams, and it gave me nightmares to think that they would be developing everything within JavaScript and bringing that all together.
But now with Bob, you sleep well at night.
Much, much better. Thank you.
I mean, and the whole Dart team. I didn't want to imply anything.
No, the whole
mostly
Dart
me.
team. I mean, it's been a fantastic experience. We started. It was like 2 years ago when we came back, and Larry Podmock, our CTO, put together a little training exercise for all the teams, and we had about 45 development staff on the Portal development team at that time, and it was just a command line app calling out to a little WebSocket, bringing back information, and everybody got so excited about using Dart. And then it's just blossomed from there, so it's been fantastic. But we still have, every once in a while, you have those JavaScript purists that's like, why don't you use Bootstrap and Backbone and build it from there? But it's like, do you understand the Portal framework we're trying to build? We can't build it with just those two tools.
You convinced me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.